We'd like to
Yeah,
also
when I was in
welcome.
software
Sorry,
testing,
Dan.
oh, sorry. I was going to say, you go to a conference and you sort of chat to people and everyone's a bit sheepish, afterwards maybe go out for a few drinks. But the passion that's at a Bitcoin conference is just incredible. It's just, it's just this unstoppable energy, really. And it's, amazing. So go to a Bitcoin conference when we're not all covered in COVID and stuff.
It's almost been like when you go to a Bitcoin conference, so you're just surrounded by the naughty buggers, and like it's not good for you, is it? Like when you go to a normal tech conference, you got other people kind of holding you back, and you got to be sensible, and everyone expects you to put a sensible hat on. And then when you go to a Bitcoin conference, people just go nuts. So I don't know how healthy it is, but yeah, I think we're all just very excited to kind of be around other people who are interested in the same weird niche thing we're interested in.
100%, and the freedom to be you. That's one of the things, that there isn't a lot of like conformity expected to be part of community. Bring it as you are, and as crazy as you are or not, like we're cool with that.
Yeah, crazy the better sometimes, but particularly when it comes to Bitcoin, I think I'm all for keeping Bitcoin weird.
Okay.
We'd also like to welcome Ben to the stream. Ben, why don't you say hello? Tell the people where you're from, maybe how you found Bitcoin.
Hello. How did I find Bitcoin? Well, I think it's because it was the banks just pissed me off enough that I just turned to Bitcoin. To be honest, it was an opt-out, and I think more and more people are going to experience a similar thing. Sadly, just because of the economic stuff which is around the corner. Because I think, the reason I got into Bitcoin was sort of ultimately because of 2008 and because of the banks, just getting on my wrong side, and then eventually just me questioning the whole system and opting for something else. Had 2008 not happened, then I don't know, I probably wouldn't have cared so much. So I think it's probably going to be similar with, people are going to feel similar when they have their lose their value in the things which they hold value in. They'll want some way of holding value which is decentralized and isn't can't be corrupted, and a free and open source alternative to the proprietary options which are currently out there. So I think that's I don't know. I think if that had happened in 2008, then people would have, if that existed in 2008, then people would have been very keen on experimenting with it. However, this time around, it will exist. So not that I'm wishing a financial crisis. I just think it's imminent that one will happen. So. But this is why we're here celebrating now, isn't it? Because we've got something very stable happening in very unstable times. So it's
Yeah, there was a bit of a disastrous moment, wasn't there, when the COVID thing kicked off and Bitcoin sunk, and everyone was panicking as to whether we would have food anymore and whether the entire infrastructure would crumble and people wouldn't, the power stations would shut down and they wouldn't be able to use their Bitcoin. But I think there's even more updates daily coming. I think there was another Bitcoin blockchain Blockstream satellite. A bit of news where they give you a kit now where you can set up your own satellite, so you can cool. Literally be doing a Bitcoin transactions whilst, I don't know, even mobile, maybe on the top of your Bitcoin van. That's inconspicuous.
Well, mesh. I mean, that's
mesh.
That's all that. And when the two are really, really, working well together, then we don't have the kind of internet needs, that we do. And I don't want to speculate too much, but mesh is huge, and you start adding that to self-sustaining power and like kind of clean energy and off the grid stuff. And before we go all the way down to Citadel world, like there really is this move from a network perspective, from this heavy, entombed but censorship resistant entity that relies on world infrastructure to something that can be independent and maintain the same level of security without its dependency on old world infrastructure. And that's kind of just wow,
me and Christian Roots, we did like one night, we did a thought experiment. We had a few beers and we kind of imagined a worst case scenario. And it was regarding my little microcontroller things I tinker about with, because they're in loads of IoT hardware devices, like, IoT light bulbs and all, Bluetooth speakers, whatever. So you could, worst comes to worst, and you can build all sorts of things out of them. So worst comes to worst, you could take one of those, crack it open, you could turn it into like a hardware wallet. And we were speculating whether it'd be possible to have a mesh which includes like a whole bunch of Lightning nodes. So have a Lightning network in, say, a small town, but that's not connected to the greater Lightning network or the Bitcoin network. It's kind of a separate Lightning network. But then you can settle a transaction, and then what we're trying to figure out a way of like taking like an on-chain transaction if they're really expensive, and then taking it to like a location where you could then broadcast it like through a satellite or something, or something which would be a little bit more censorship resistant if the internet were to go down, internet infrastructure. So this was kind of like a post-apocalyptic world where Bitcoin would still kind of work, and we did actually sort of figure out a way that we could get it to work, and that I think a Lightning network, I think you can like split the network and then get it to rejoin, and it's possible to have it be fairly seamless. So that was pretty interesting. It's similar because mesh networks work in a similar way. Like the mesh networking I did with the little ESP32 microcontrollers, they self-heal, so you can split the mesh network into two, and it becomes two separate mesh networks. And then when they get close enough together again, they kind of go into one big blob, which is one of the kind of organic features of mesh networks, which can be really interesting. Its ability to heal itself and reroute data, and that's why it's hard to censor once it's done properly. So we were trying to think along those lines, like a post-apocalyptic Bitcoin world. And it's still possible. It's still possible to use the technology. It isn't internet dependent. I mean, obviously the internet's the best way of doing it now, but we can still have Bitcoin without the internet. It would be possible.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, obviously,
carrier pigeon.
The thing that apply for of course Lightning Network, but also for the base layer, right? The Bitcoin proof of work was made so that if you are offline or if you are separated from the network, as soon as you get back to the main network and you download the blocks, you verify them, and you end up at the same consensus, right? So the Bitcoin network itself is resilient like that.
Yay! We're joined by Max Hillebrand. Hello, Max. Welcome to the show. Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
Hey, Max.
Go ahead, Ben.
Hey, I finally have a microphone back.
All right.
Nice to hear you, Max.
You just need internet now, and you'll be laughing.
Oh yeah, and my internet connection is shitty as hell. That is the worst part. So fortunately here with Zoom it actually works quite well. So let's see how long I can stay on before I have to refresh the browser.
Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating, isn't it, that Zoom works well?
22 minutes since the last block. What's going on? Is this where the mining spiral happens?
We'll be here for a few days waiting.
It's possible they've already turned off their machines. If I was them, there's only a certain amount of time where you can run extra machinery before you need to take a break, right? I mean, how much more can you really win here?
Oh, hey, look!
Nice.
Oh,
this is rare.
All right,
this is very rare.
We're also joined by Nindy. Let's go ahead.
Nindy,
you want your video to be on because your video's on.
He's cool. He's got his masked up.
I think that's exactly. Polka garb there, you know.
Say hi, Nindy. Just tell us where you're from and what you're up to. Say hi to Bitcoin. Oh, no audio. No audio for the Nindy.
Oh,
Got to work on that.
It's funny, isn't it? The boss of Bitcoin can't even get his audio working on Zoom.
Ben was saying how good Zoom worked, and then Zoom promptly goes down on us. Let's try again. Nindy, are you with us?
I think he wants a couple of minutes to.
All right.
2 minutes.
So
trying to connect his potato.
Max, do you want to introduce yourself? Just say hi to the people. Obviously, we know who you are, but just say hi, Max.
Yeah, let me see. Is that microphone working? Okay, it is. Perfect.
Guys, can you hear me? Very well, man. Very nice audio.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, there you are. Okay, go ahead. Nindy, say hello, and then Max can say hello. Oh, I think Nindy might be on a delay. Maybe you're listening to the other audio.
Yeah.
Figured it out.
Hey guys, how are you? Yeah, I'm from somewhere in Europe, and I'd like to say hello to hello to all my friends and family who are on this live video.
Hey, Bitcoin. Yay.
I like the silly disguise accent you're using.
I think it's very impressive. I think she's doing a great job.
Yeah, no, I'll give you points for pulling it off, I'll give you points. Yeah.
All right, and Max Hillebrand, just introduce yourself, say hello, maybe tell people about what you're up to in Bitcoin right now. I think you're doing some exciting new stuff.
Yes. So I've been always interested in Bitcoin for a while now. It's my second Halvening, as far as I know, and been continuing to learn and to share my knowledge. I did a bunch of stuff in the WCN. Hope to continue that again. And right now, focusing a lot on both written documentation. I think that has some nice features too, contrarily to videos. Like you can edit stuff after the fact, and you can have peer review before you publish it. That's actually quite nice. So a lot of that like BISC and BTC Pay and Wasabi and Cold Card, a bit documentation too. And then research. That's really exciting right now. New CoinJoin privacy magic that we want to do at Wasabi. So a bit of that, but yeah, just living Bitcoin.
All right, very cool. Thanks so much, Max. I'm glad you can join us today. It's good to see you again. What else should we talk about here? You guys are going pretty good.
Can we go back to the base layer discussion? So we just started that, and that's actually a really, really interesting discussion. And it's one that was kind of popular 2-3 years ago. And then we kind of got sidetracked with the whole layer 2 thing, and people forgot what layers can actually mean, I think. And we thought, we thought of layer 2 only as Lightning. And this idea of, synchronizing back to lower and lower layers until we get back to base layer is actually something really, really cool, because a lot of the stuff we're talking about is, you can have a base layer and you can recon back to that base layer, transactions that occur, on second layer, or, Ben, in your crazy post-apocalyptic village, wherever else. But it doesn't only have to be one layer. That's the beauty of the network, is you can have a layer that its Merkle is contained there in base. It has another layer with its own Merkle that synchronizes back to base layer. That layer can then provide a block or a header or whatever is part of a block to a even higher layer, which can then synchronize back. And what happens is you end up with this decreasing cost, increasing speciality of use case, but while still maintaining the base layer's security and censorship resistance, that it allows for a faster and faster transaction move. It allows for deeper and deeper use case specialization and kind of niche marketing of different products. And I think that, coupled with some of the crazy, coin use cases we've seen, are what's ultimately going to lead to this kind of, pillar in the sand that is internet security, with all these other things branching off it, used for their own industries, but ultimately reconning back to the base layer for their primary security, something like that.
That's a really cool way of putting it, actually, that you can extrapolate out use case and make it easier and easier to use. But then the point is that you're leveraging constantly that security which you've got on the very base layer, which you're then returning to perform a transaction every now and then. And it really can be every now, when it works as we want it to work, it really could be every now and then. It could be, transactions could be very rare things, with lots of information packed into them, just as a way of sort of pegging that one thing happened at a certain point in time, and then having a whole bunch of other that could represent multiple transactions, thousands of transactions on a second layer like Lightning, or it could be a whole bunch of smart contracting, which has been what's it called, hashed down into the one transaction. So it's a nice way of putting it.
And it's not just that we can have a lot of economic, let's say, transfer economic value in one output itself, but we can batch different sub transactions in one giant transaction.
Exactly,
So
and different types of data transaction. Sorry, Max. Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
Exactly.
Man. Yeah.
Yes. So instead of having like one input, two outputs or something like that, we have 500 inputs and 500 outputs. And this is a huge Lightning Network channel factory or RGB asset issuance or whatever crazy magic comes up.
And the beauty as well, which we sometimes forget, is that data within a block or transaction or whatever other kind of crazy thing we're coming up with names doesn't have to only be financial. All data is essentially, just basic binary storage. So the point is, whether it's, digital asset ownership, whether it's images, like whatever it is, each of these different things can package its own type of data. So it's not always numbers and just financial transactions. And that, I think, is one of the areas people get stuck. This network,
do you think this? I mean, obviously, we've had experimentation with things like Ethereum and things, but do you think post this halvening is when we're going to actually see, real kind of smart contract, digital asset use cases, which aren't just gimmicky and stupid?
Well, I mean, post, sure, as opposed to before. I mean, but is it imminent? No, I don't believe so. Maybe some people playing with it. I mean, a lot of the CoinJoin stuff is super cool, but it's still experimental from a use perspective. Lightning as well, go back a year, it's pretty clunky to use even today. So I think
I would think that CoinJoin actually is one of the few things which has actual utility use for people using Bitcoin for censorship resistance, for example, for censorship resistance on dark markets, which is really like the main use outside of speculation and for Bitcoin, and for opting out and all that other stuff. But actually using it as a money is dark market type behavior or censorship resistant money. So it's actually one of the less experimental features of Bitcoin, I would think.
Yeah, I would actually agree. And CoinJoin is quite an old technology, actually. I mean, it started first blog posting like in 2010 about it, and Gregory Maxwell's introduction in 2013 with Dark Wallet and Join Market coming up rather soon, and now with Wasabi and Samurai. It's quite a good ecosystem, I would say. But specifically to bring it back to smart contracts and issuing assets, Ben mentioned it briefly, RGB. This is actually like really cutting edge technology that is very well working right now already. You can already use this technology to issue assets on the base layer with like the client side validated single use seal magic to do this very efficiently. And the Lightning functionality of this to open a Lightning Network channel that can issue and transfer assets. This tech is almost ready for at least like a proof of concept implementation. So I would say that within a couple of months, years, this is really getting into production ready stage. So we will for sure see this within the next halving period.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the question is will it be gimmicky, fucking cat swapping pictures of cats, or will it be the company issuing its shares, for example?
I think most of the stuff by definition is gimmicky because its limitation is its usability. Like even if as a wider like currency or whatever it is that we're defining Bitcoin as, it's more adopted in the next year, 2, 3. Is this kind of technology is not going to be super publicly accessible. Like CoinJoin and this Max, I mean, you've helped me with a lot of stuff in the past and I've learned a lot from you, but a lot of the stuff is still way beyond my pay grade. It's difficult for me to use. So
I suppose we're still in like that period where it's like cars or photography or any technology. It is that sort of hobbyist. You need quite a lot of technical experience to be able to do it, but it is working towards it more being a sort of generally used tool.
I think so. I think you have a person, and we have examples in the space already, who will take the technology, put onto it some sort of front end or some sort of gateway or interface that lets the average person use it as an app on their phone without understanding what's powering it behind, And I think those front ends are generally developed when there's enough economic incentive in the marketplace to make it happen. And I think that there's a real argument that is going to happen from this halving till the next, So it becomes about app development rather than, the average person being able to use technology. I mean, think about Bitcoin Core. The wallet is crazy for a person to use today. Someone coming to Bitcoin isn't going to download like, the Core wallet and start using it. But
how long does it even take to sync the blockchain? Like weeks and weeks and weeks? Like
I
tried a while ago. I mean, I think it's
horrible.
I think it's a lot.
I can't. I've tried to do it here, and I've got pretty bad internet. It kills the internet. So my family will hate me for days. Well, they can't watch Netflix because I'm downloading the fucking.
Well, and it's
So,
funny.
I'm sure the Noddle downloaded within like 24 hours.
When you
both
guys,
the original and the Samurai edition.
When you mentioned the Blockstream satellite, one of the features on the new version, and I don't know how they do this, is that you can download the entire blockchain over a satellite. I imagine it takes weeks and weeks and weeks, but somehow it works, right?
Yeah, it takes about a month, and you have to, of course, start at the right time. Right, so on some day it starts sending out the blocks, like the Genesis blocks, and then it continues for a month sending the later days. So you need to be there that one day to get it started. But still, it's incredible.
I wish it were easier. I mean, this is something which I've experienced because with bad internet, something I've experienced. I just wish it would be easier for me to just trust someone else's block data for the Lightning Network. Say if I'm set up a node, I trust Max's block data, so I just connect to his Bitcoin blockchain for transaction settling stuff and for queries. And then in the background, when no one's using the internet, then it would just slowly download the blockchain for me until I can use it myself. I wish there was more of that done for people with crappy internet.
Isn't that already in the Raspberry Blitz that you can download from a trusted source? The block data?
You can, yeah, but I mean that's you can't have it. What I want in the Blitz, for example, is I want to fire up a Blitz, be able to use it more or less instantly using someone else's block data or Block Explorer, whatever, and then while I'm using it, then in the background it downloads the whole blockchain, and then once it's downloaded, it then just cuts me off from that trusted source, who could be like someone I know, and then you can just use I think this is actually being worked into Core. I can't remember the name of it. There's some new feature which could make this possible in the Blitz.
This is actually somewhat is already how Wasabi is working. So you start out as a light client, downloading the BIP157 block filters, where you trust the CK Snacks coordinating server for the valid block data. Right. So this is the trusted point here. But it's downloaded within minutes and synced within seconds.
Nice.
And then you can start Bitcoin D. The binaries are included in Wasabi to then do initial block download. Right? And as soon as that's finished, now that's still the work in progress, but we want to have full verification too, right? So that then the local Bitcoin core that you have does all the verification and you can use it from there. But in the meantime, it will be a light client where you trust someone else.
Max, I've got a technical idea that needs to be shot down before it goes any further.
So can I? So would I be able? So if I got Wasabi, then would I be able to use the Bitcoin wallet? I think I'm breaking up. Would I be able to use would I be able to use Bitcoin? Would I be able to use it without? And then it just downloads the blockchain in the background.
Yep, you just click one button in the settings and it does initial block download. It's super easy in the GUI.
You should build like a Wasabi Blitz. That'd be ace. Like a Wasabi with an LND node on top.
Guys, I'm gonna jump off for a bit. I need to take care of some bedtime routines and such. Nice. It's been awesome, and I think I'll see you after the next 210,000 milestone. But I'll try and join you guys a bit later again.
That sounds good. Thanks so much for joining us, Mark.
Thanks for having me. Cheers, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right, and we're keeping an eye on the Bitcoin halving. We're still 9 blocks away. It's been quite a while. If we look at the last block, it was at 10:12 a.m. It's now 10:50 a.m. So after having a 5-second block, we're now waiting a full 40 minutes plus for the next block. Go ahead, Dan.
Sorry. So I was thinking, couldn't we to as a scaling option, archive the blockchain and have the hash stored somewhere with I know all the balances, and then start afresh, so that people could validate.
Isn't that what Ethereum
history?
Do? Isn't that what are they called?
Oh no!
Ethereum do that. So you have to download the whole thing, because you can't download the whole bloody thing. What's it called? It's got a name. Yeah, some crappy thing.
Is it pruning?
No, it's not pruning. It's like it's like snapshots or something.
It's called sharding. Is it sharding?
You download a bunch of snapshots.
And no, that's after too many beers on a Saturday night. I know.
Past weeks worth of Ethereum blocks, which still takes about a month. So yeah.
Well,
at the moment, so the full ledger's
already. So there's one thing already implemented and one thing in the works. The one thing that's already implemented is called assume valid, which means when you do initial block download, you still download all the data, but up until a certain point in time, I think it's like a year ago or something, you do not verify signatures of the public keys that spend the coins. And this is like for years in Bitcoin already. And now what James O'Byrne is working on is called Assume UTXO, which means that you no longer go through from Genesis to, let's say, the last year and check what the UTXO set is. So check which of the coins are still unspent. But you take a snapshot of the UTXO set and you assume that this is correct because it has the year of proof of work on it and it's been reviewed by developers and so on. And then you do UTXO set verification from that point forward. So you don't verify the signatures of the past and you don't check the transaction history itself in the past. And that is a big verification speed improvement. Now you still have to download everything. And eventually you should still verify all the stuff in like from the past. That can be done later in the background. But these are two things that are currently being done to somewhat reduce the cost of doing initial block verification.
That's it. It's assume UTXO. That's the thing which Christian was talking about, because I was talking to him about getting the Blitz to do that sort of background blockchain download while you can then use the Blitz, and it's assume UTXO is what we need in Bitcoin. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's a great technology.
But when will it happen?
Soon.
2 weeks.
I take it when Schnorr signatures are implemented, it won't. There's no kind of, obviously the blocks are completely static, so there's no kind of retrospective work. You know, it will only it will only improve things moving forward.
We're getting a report from the chat. This is probably a minute ahead of us. New block incoming. Go ahead, keep going, guys.
Oh right, sorry. I don't know where I was with that.
Whoa, all those balloons. This is the first time we've had the Bitcoin Halvening website up. They've got all these balloons, looks like fireworks. It's official now, 8 blocks. We are 8 blocks away.
Woo.
Let's get some information about that.
I've got a question for Ben.
Yeah.
Ben, are you in a research lab?
I'm in my secret Scottish bunker.
What's that? It looks like something exploded on the left there.
Sometimes, you know, when I'm like playing around with my little silly electronics, sometimes I like to pretend, you know, that kidnapped electronics guy in a film who's like being kidnapped and he's being forced to make bombs and things. I like to pretend I'm that guy sometimes. You know, if it's late at night and I've just got these wires and stuff, I'm solder spitting in my eye.
Tinkering Temple.
Which, I mean, nowadays, I was going to say, I mean, nowadays, like, you know, some of the hardware I work with, like, could so easily be used to make that kind of stuff. You know, like years ago, you'd have to go and kidnap your Russian electronics professor, you know, to be able to make you your perfect little detonators. But nowadays, I mean, we're probably going to get, I shouldn't talk about this too much because we'll probably get the YouTube feed cut or something. But yeah, the electronics, I mean, it kind of scares me because I'm like, man, this is easy. Like, you could easily make some pretty sophisticated detonators here, which nobody could bypass. So, but not that's what
ideas.
I'm doing. Huh?
Don't give anyone ideas.
But it's again, it actually fills me full of hope, because it's like, I'm glad there's not more black hats out there, more baddies out there, because the technology is there. You know, you can print your own guns, you can make your own detonators for bombs and whatever else. But the world is still relatively stable, and people don't.
What's the latest gadget you've made, Ben?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I've just been software crap. I don't like software either. I want to do more of the hardware stuff. It's much more rewarding. But the thing I have been working on is I got this little pussy, and he was cheap. He's like a tenner on Amazon. But what's cool though is he's got a little microcontroller in here, which I've been trying to hack. And the little microcontroller is going to speak to my Blitz. So this little thing, it's like a light, like a children's light. So you can have a white light, and if you tap it, it can go blue, red, green, whatever. So he's going to talk to my Blitz, and then if there's something wrong with my Blitz, he's going to go red. If I get a transaction, he's going to do a little disco multicolor thing. And then when it's just running well, it's just going to be green, and it's like a tenner, and it's a no, so it's like a no checker, disguised as a little children's lamp. And that's pretty cool. But I mean, I just haven't got around to doing it. I have also been working on like trying to make ventilators and stuff because I got all freaked out. But so I've been a bit distracted with that. But I like that. I like the no checker thing. I need to make that.
All right,
we were talking earlier about the
give,
front end and the nice advantage